with any project I do, it's usually been about like a collision of like 10 different thoughts and inspirations and thought experiments and emotions and life stuff all kind of hitting together at once. And in this case, it was like I think if you watch the movie, you would see that it's not, or you would see that you would be able to detect. I watch a lot of YouTube, and I do more so than apps I actually pay for. And one thing that I was starting to, yeah, I was feeling this is about 2 years ago. I just remember, just kind of randomly thinking and brainstorming on stuff. And then I had this weird thought experiment that came up in like the middle of nowhere. And it was, what if you had to listen to ads as you were calling 911? Like just this random thought.
Yeah.
And I was thinking like, oh, that's interesting. And thinking like, imagine if you were sent an article and they're like, Detroit's going bankrupt, but to raise money, they're gonna put ads in front of 911 calls. Like, I think we'd get mad for about a week, and
Yeah.
then we just kind of go with it. It's like this is our life now. And I was thinking about that. I was like, oh wait, there's actually like a story here. Like, what can I do with this? And I was kind of thinking of stories and whatnot. And I've been trying to do more horror stuff over the last couple of years, and just trying to find that kind of inspiration. And I just started thinking about, oh wait a minute. Okay, yeah, there's a story here. What if, blah, blah, blah. Okay, a woman being chased in a cabin in the middle of the woods. Okay, who's chasing her? Okay, probably big scary guy, knives, rah, scary monster guy. Okay, I got that. I got some ideas on that. And then I was like, okay, wait, okay, she needs weapons, and then just started to kind of build out the story. And uh, once I kind of figured out like the main layout, I was like, crap, I'm gonna have to make this now. Like, if I don't, someone else is gonna do it, and they're gonna get rich and famous, and I
Yeah.
can't have that. Um, but yeah, and it was just this kind of thing of like frustration with ads, but also about like the sort of general way I think our society goes and how many people learn their life skills from YouTube and other apps and such. So that was kind of like a very condensed way of going about it, but it was yeah, there's a lot of things about it that like I think it's just where our life is going, and I think there's some terror in that I think just people don't always quite begin to predict or think is coming. But
Yeah.
those are some of my thoughts on it.
Well, there's I'm sure you've probably seen the TVs that have like that or the refrigerators that have TVs in them, and people were
Yeah.
making jokes about, oh, I'm gonna have to watch an ad to open the refrigerator. And that's a joke, but I mean, it could happen eventually. I mean, I wouldn't put it beyond the realm of possibility.
I mean, it's everywhere. I mean, I think it's one of those things where like there are. I mean, I'm sure you've experienced this. There are total websites that are just inaccessible because like you open it up on your phone or whatever, and it's like there's ads that like mess with the formatting and the coding and such, and it's just like this is I can't make any sense of this, or like, and it's yeah, yeah, just to do the most basic thing, just everything revolves around advertising. And it's like, and my thing with the movie was I didn't want to approach it like, just to be very simple, like, oh, advertising sucks, doesn't it? It's like, oh, it does, but it's always been around YouTube. But
Yeah.
for me, I felt that like with advertising and such, especially on like those apps, it's like it used to be like it was always there, but it was always like, you tolerate it. But now I think it's just gotten more aggressive and negative, but also less relevant to like whatever profile they have of us. I think it's just like throwing crap at the wall all the time. And I think there's a yeah, so it's always been there, but I think yeah, it's become more of a part of our lives, and it affects the structure of like the stuff that we watch on YouTube, I feel.
Yeah.
Um, like, I mean, I think how many different times have we seen the same like structure where they're like, I hate to do this, but we got to pay the bills. But so here's this. How do you need a VPN? It's like I don't. I'm fine. But yeah, it's like everyone just kind of uses the same script, and you start noticing that after a while.
Yeah, like I feel because I watch a lot of YouTube as well, and
Mhm.
like whenever one of my favorite creators goes into that like the sponsored like ad that's like in the middle of their video, I feel
Mhm.
bad, but I usually skip it. 'Cause-
Yeah. And they know you do, and it's like, and
yeah,
I get it. It's like to enjoy this amazing amount of stuff that is at our fingertips. Like, yeah, you're gonna have to put up with some ads and stuff, and so like I get it. I'm not a hater. Plus, I use like tutorials and all that stuff. Like, that's I use some of it to finish on this and to
yeah,
finish this movie, so I get it. but it's like, but there are some downsides. And I think one of my fears that I think was that I think you have to use your own fears to make any kind of horror film. And for me, I think it's like one of them was, what if I'm in a life or death situation and it involves having to use skills I've never been taught? And that's a thing that like that's where it could help, but it could also there are its own issues if you're depending on an app and the content other people make to survive. I think there's a vulnerability there.
I love the moment where she's trying to put the gun together, and so she looks up a tutorial how to put a gun together. It's just it's hilarious. It's like both hilarious and kind of sad at the same time, you know.
Yeah. And it's, and then it gets into like the mechanics of a gun because like I think most people could probably figure out like, okay, this part goes to this part, but then it's like, but then the thing that undoes her if you watch the movie she wasn't taught where to put the firing pin, but that's in part two, which is probably behind a Patreon
Right.
thing, and it's just this constant urge to get you to keep watching, and so yeah, but yeah, there's definitely things like that that they make me concerned, but yet. If I ever, it's also funny. If I ever did want to learn how to use a gun, there's plenty of apps on YouTube to be able to figure that out.
Yeah. So in terms of slashers, this gave me a feeling of like Hatchet or even like Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon. So like what slashers influenced your style?
Sure. So growing up, I feel like I was always slasher adjacent. It wasn't a genre that I like saw early and was like really like and really dove into. But like my all-time favorite horror movie is Nightmare on Elm Street, which I guess is which yeah I guess is considered a slasher. I've always kind of considered it sort of between a few. But like growing up, one of my favorite ones was also Scream. Which still works even if you don't have a lifetime of watching slashers. It just works. It's a singularly terrifying movie, but also really funny. And so like Nightmare on Elm Street, the Nightmare on Elm Street series, Scream, and I think I also came about during like that sort of late '90s, early 2000s like slasher push. So
Yeah.
I have fond memories of watching Urban Legend and the idea of I Know What You Did Last Summer, not quite the way the movie came about, but like those were definitely around when I was sort of coming of age and such. So those are a few of them, but yeah, I have been meaning to see Hatchet. It's been on my list. My list is long, and I'll never get through all of it. But it's been on my list.
Yeah. Like my letterbox watch list is just like it's impossible that I'll ever watch all of these movies in my lifetime.
Mhm.
I'm constantly adding to them. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just have to look at like my Netflix or my HBO, maxing. I can see stuff I know I added on the first day, and it's like I'm never getting to that one prequel series of that show I vaguely liked. It's like, but I keep it there in case. But
Right.
we
Yeah.
we know our limits, and as we get older, I think we just kind of learn we don't have as much time as we thought.
Right. It's interesting that you bring up Scream because it's interesting looking at modern slashers in the post Scream era. A lot of them have a hook rather than being just like this is just a straight slasher. But a lot of
Mhm.
them like are either commenting on culture or tech or like I think of like the Final Girls where the characters get sucked into a movie. So like all these movies have like a hook to them. Was that something that was on your mind writing this that I need to have a hook?
Um, I think having some kind of hook is sort of one of the things that really excited me about it. Like, and I've always been like, I think one thing, and this isn't even just horror movies, but I think just movies in general. I feel like it's almost like not even like acceptable to almost have like a movie that is just like this is a fun action movie or this is just a fun horror movie. It's like I feel like a lot of things that the things that get press are now like or get any kind of like virality to it is like it's this, but it also comments on this, this, and this, and this, or or it comments on this thing, and it's just like I think that can get kind of exhausting. I do love that there's still room for just like a regular fun, terrifying movie like within the horror community. Whereas yeah, I think in other genres like it can't be just one thing. It has to be the everything. And yeah, I think with so I think the slasher angle I think was or the tech angle in this it went with other films I've done, where I've done a couple other movies that were about a technology that intrudes in on our everyday life. Like one of my dream jobs would be to direct an episode of like Black Mirror, for
Oh
example.
yeah,
But yeah, so I mean, I felt that that was and it's not even a thing I actively seek out. It's just like, the things that, tech is in our lives and it's not going away. So, and how it impacts just like how we just interact with people. And so I think that was definitely a hook of like my way into it. But yeah, it was definitely, uh, yeah, everything just, it was a bunch, as mentioned, it was a bunch of separate things that all just kind of came together into one whole. And this is how I got here, I guess.
yeah. So I have to ask, did you see the I know what you did last summer, like reboot sequel last year?
Um, I saw bits of it. I did not see the movie, but I was spoiled on what happened at the end, so I was like, I wasn't. I liked the first movie. I liked the idea of the first one, but it wasn't. I think like a lot of people, it's like it's a thing we saw when we were younger, but it's not like a thing of
Yeah.
like, oh my God, this is a heralded classic, so I want to see what they're doing 20 years later. I'm like, I got my fill.
Yeah.
Uh, but how was it? Was it good?
It was solid. It's like very middle of the road kind of
Mhm.
thing. I get what they were trying to do, like with like flipping the stuff that they did in the original. But yeah, it was solid.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
It'll,
What,
it'll be another thing to add to the queue that I'd probably never get to, uh,
yeah.
but
Kind of along with that, like with slashers, it feels like we're in the age of nostalgia. Like all these IPs are being either rebooted or remade, like Halloween. I know what you did last summer. Like all of these things. Why are we so like obsessed with like returning to the past so much in terms of film?
right. I the thing where I try to figure out is like, are we actually obsessed with nostalgia, or is it just what executives think we are obsessed with? Like, yeah, if we return back to a thing that that we enjoy, and it's like the thing that gets a wider release, or you actually discover in ads, like yeah, like people might go see it, but I still kind of go on that idea that like it's how you get unexpected successes. Like Get Out, for example. No one was calling for like we want a horror movie about like black oppression in the suburban thing that's also kind of an invasion of bystanders thing. Like no one was actively calling for that. But then once the trailer came out, people were like, "Oh, this is really interesting," and then it became the movie that we all know and love.
Yeah,
And so I think it's like I think it's always that thing of like people don't know what they want until they see it, and I think that like I think there is some value into going back to maybe things we love it, but the hope is always that there's a story that excites some people or that there's a reason to go back to it rather than just to make money. And I think that I do wonder if there actually is a nostalgia to it that people actually actively want, or is it just like, oh, I wasn't thinking about going to see He-Man. Like I haven't thought about that in 30 years, but I guess there's a new movie out, and it's what it's the only thing that's out apparently.
yeah,
And I think that's always, and with independent film, I think that's always a struggle of like people don't actually think like I should go see something small. It's like it has to be something that penetrates, and
right,
because otherwise most people just assume that the only movies being made are like what shows up on Fandango.
right, right. So in terms of your film, I appreciated too that the killer gets ads as well.
Right. Yeah, and that to me I think was also one of those sort of hooks, like for whenever people get to see it, whether it's at Panic Fest or other festivals that it plays, or eventually going online. It's one of those things where to me one of the hooks I found was like, oh, like the slasher is obviously like he's a villain, but like I think in a weird way the internet becomes the villain as well, or like online capitalism.
Yeah,
If you want to get really Marxist and deep diving into it, but I was kind of thinking about like, yeah, like it's the moral I was kind of joke about it is that like is that whether you're a final girl or an aggressive slasher villain, capitalism fucks all of us. And
right,
I think that's kind of thing. So yeah, and it's just one of those things that like especially this is to me felt like this would be like a smaller segment in a much bigger movie, but it's like I feel like it always helped like some of my favorite parts in horror movies are like those moments where it's like we see like this is actually what the villain is experiencing. This is like how he or she sees the world, and just like them by themselves. And that to me is like, oh yeah, even he was kind of victim to this, and kind of gives it a bigger heft to it, if that makes sense.
I love seeing him too, because of the title of the film, him trying to put the arm on his like severed, trying to put it back on. Like stuff like that is like really clever, and that honestly made me laugh a little bit too.
I would hope so.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, but and yeah, I think I mean I won't go try and go and spoil the meaning of the title of the film is, but then when you see it, I would hope they just it's like oh it ends up being just kind of a shit post. It's this kind of like this is kind of trolling kind of thing. But and that was actually not even like the title came before I realized what the gag was. I was like, oh, this is actually this is the movie could not be named anything else. So I was very stoked that that people are responding in to the right moments that I was hoping for so
yeah.
far.
I really like after it was over, I was like, I really could watch a feature of this. So is that like in your mind at all?
Yeah, I actually am writing one.
Okay.
So like I think when I was first making it, it was like I'm not a person who because I've known some filmmakers who do this where it's like I'll only do a short if it's really just like a prelude to a feature. And I'm like, some things just work better as a short. And I thought that's kind of what this would be as I was writing it. And but as I got sort of towards the end of the writing process and and then we started filming it, I started realizing, oh, there actually is a longer take on it. So it is something I am writing. It's less of a tech satire and more of a survival story, but the the impact, the technology, and like I think the way we kind of that I think society has kind of made us all more isolated in our little coves. I think is actually a thing that is very adjacent to the DNA of this movie. But like this film would kind of act as like almost like the ending to a movie like that. And this was and the feature idea that I've been doing is one that does kind of expand on that, where it probably would be kind of close to the ending, but there's always swerves. So it is something that is definitely on my mind of what I'm trying to potentially launch next. It's just I've been working on other jobs for like 6 months straight, so it's like I finally have time to write, and it's like I'm balancing writing and then also wanting to be like a human being and like live life a little bit. So, but yeah, it is in process currently.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Well, just to kind of wrap up here, getting into Panic Fest, does it feel like validation for this?
Yeah, so Panic was actually I tried to when I was starting my festival submission strategy and stuff. I've known a few people who've screened there before, and they've all been like really like positive about the experience and whatnot. So I tried to structure it so that if they chose it, it would be first. And when I got when I got the email that it was chosen, I was like really excited. And the thing I was always worried about was like if the horror community or like the people who are in charge of a festival like Panic, if they would, if they would sort of accept it, or if they would be like, okay, yeah, this is horror enough. Since horror was a genre I kind of came to later in my career, and so yeah, it did feel really validating. I wish I'd been able to screen in person, but yeah, just but being part of being part of the festival has been really fun, and like it got us into contact with like me and you, and then other people I've been emailing from from critics and press and such. So yeah, it's been really fun to be a part of that.
Yeah. And tech horror or like this kind of film I could see it really being polarizing for a lot of people. Is that something that you're kind of like, prepared for?
The way I look at it is that if a movie is polarizing, it means people watched it, and to me, that's kind of like the victory in itself. I think my with anything I do, I tend to try to make it so that whatever it is I do is it is that for the first part it entertains, or or that it is a thing that people enjoy as much as possible. I am my first audience member. Like if I enjoy it, I think others will. But yeah, if polarization comes out, sure, why not? Yeah, as long as people have an extreme opinion on it, if indifference is what we all try to avoid.
There's a moment when the lead it gets an ad and she's like, "Oh my God, no one cares." I was literally watching a YouTube video that like an ad popped up and I was thinking, "Oh my God, I don't care. Just give me the video." So I really connected with like, moments like that.
That warms my heart to hear, and I think part of that was also just kind of inspiration from like there are many creators that I love, but then like sometimes they'll just go on these weird tangents about their life that like maybe are vaguely connected, or they'll talk about some anecdote, or they'll go into like comedy shtick. and like skits they want to do. And so where it's just like this is very much not what I'm actually looking to like what I was watching for. It can be interesting, but that was kind of one of those things of just like trying to figure out all the different ways of that we engender that kind of reaction out of a character. And that was one where it's like, oh, okay, yeah, like the for context, if you haven't, if for anyone who hasn't seen it, it's she's watching a hunting show tutorial on how to assemble a rifle, and it's just the guy's just going on talking about his cousin and this weird hunting trip he once went on, and it just but I think anyone who's spent any time on YouTube can definitely has definitely experienced those things of like, what is the point of this? Like, I work as an editor, I would cut that out if I if I was and sold the sole creator of it, but with